Hey, it's Jonathan McGinley, a Maxwell certified coach, speaker, trainer, and the founder of Intentional Man, a company that exists to give Christian men the tools, community, and coaching to pursue God-sized goals, to live intentionally, and to build lives of significance. One of my favorite movies growing up was The Sandlot, and I'm sure most of you have seen this movie. If not, you should definitely go check it out. But in this movie, there's a group of kids who play baseball regularly at a field in their neighborhood. In the field, it backs up to an old man's house. And in the backyard, there's a giant dog that the kids call the Beast. And they made up stories about the legend of the Beast and how the Beast would kill anyone that came near him. The character Squints, I'm sure you remember him, as he's amazing. He goes on a full rant on like the history of the Beast and how the Beast has killed over 170 guys, I think is what he says. So I'm sure if you've seen the movie, you could picture that moment, that rant when they're in the treehouse and he's talking about the legend of the Beast. And they built this thing, this dog, up to be something that would kill anyone who went into the backyard. And so the problem was anytime that they hit a home run on that field, the ball would go into that backyard. So they just had to kind of let the ball go and go get a new baseball if it ended up going over the fence. But in the movie, they end up using a baseball that is signed by Babe Ruth. And the kids didn't really realize it at the time, but they're using this ball that's signed by Babe Ruth, and they hit a home run, and it goes into the Beast's backyard. And then that's when the kid, tells everybody, hey, this thing was signed by Babe Ruth. And they freak out, and they spend the rest of the movie trying to figure out how to get into the backyard to get the ball back without being killed by the Beast. And whereas before when they hit a home run, they would just kind of let the ball go, not risk their lives to go get it back. Everything changed when the ball was valuable enough to them that they had to do anything and everything to get the ball back. So at that point, there were no other options besides figuring out how to get in the backyard and getting that Babe Ruth signed baseball. It's a funny movie. It's got some great moments throughout. But I do think there's a lesson to be taken from this exactly when it comes from this movie, and that's on the lesson of commitment. Commitment. And one of the major issues plaguing a lot of men today is the issue of commitment. I've heard from numerous men that I've worked with that this is something that they struggle with. I've actually had women come and ask me why men seem to have so much trouble committing to things. I've seen a lack of commitment play out in my life, sometimes in different ways. And so in our world, in a world that's so focused on immediate gratification and so focused on comfort, the issue of commitment, I believe, is becoming a larger and larger issue. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today. In the movie, the kids were not at all committed to ever jumping over the fence to get a ball when it was just a normal baseball. But when that baseball was the one signed by Babe Ruth and it had a lot of value, they became 100% committed to getting over that fence and to getting the ball at all costs. And there's a great book. It's called Take the Stairs. It's by author Rory Vaden. And he introduces kind of this exact principle. And he talks about the commitment continuum. And all the meaningful things that we do in life and all the meaningful things that you do, there comes a moment of decision where you are either all in or you're all out. When you first decide to pursue a dream or a relationship or make a meaningful change in your life, there's the initial excitement, right? You feel this boost of motivation, you feel inspired, you're excited to get started, you're excited to make that meaningful change. But then when that happens and you get going, you're faced with what? You're faced with work, right? And you're faced with a lot of it. It's probably more than you anticipated. You're also faced with obstacles and roadblocks that are in the way of the change that you want to make. That initial excitement is met with some pain and discomfort. The first fight that you have in your relationship, or if you commit to health, it's that second week of trying to get up and go to the gym, and where all you want to do is stay in bed. It's uncomfortable. It's not easy. The moment where you start your business and you're excited, but then you run into that first obstacle where your plan fails, or it doesn't start off as hot as you thought it would, or you don't know exactly what to do. You know what I'm talking about. You're met with opposition, and then it takes a lot of emotional and physical energy to keep going. And can you think of those areas of your life where this has been the case? Those moments where you were met with opposition, you were met with challenge, where all of a sudden this is hard work. Can you think of those moments? How did you respond in those moments? What was your attitude at that point in time. Because how you handle these moments in your life will be the difference between pursuing your dreams and living a life you're proud of, or you will live a life that's full of missed opportunities or a life that's full of regrets, depending on what you do in these pivotal moments. And these moments come down to your commitment. Are you fully committed or not? Are you fully in or not? How you handle these moments comes down to your attitude and these pivotal points, these defining moments where things are going to get, where they're getting more and more difficult and they reach this climax. Are you going to give up or are you going to keep going? That specific moment. Are you going to give up or are you going to keep going? And the people who usually turn back and give up, they usually take like a I'm not sure about this attitude into the situation, probably before it even begins. And they ask themselves the question, should I? So you get to this pivotal moment and you ask yourself, should I? What I mean by that is, should I keep going? Should I keep trying? Should I just do something else? Should I quit? You feel the uncomfortable situation, you run into some obstacles, and you want out of that uncomfort. And so you ask the question, should I? And what typically ends up happening when you ask yourselves those kind of questions is that you quit at the moment right before your biggest breakthrough. So you must understand that anything worthwhile in your life is going to follow this exact same process. You're going to start out motivated, then you're going to run into some obstacles. Those obstacles are going to mount until you reach a pivotal point. And in that point, will you either persevere or will you quit and then go look for the next opportunity? These are the people who quit and look for the next opportunity. They're the people who assume the grass is always greener on the other side, right? Or who think it just wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right circumstances, or they weren't motivated enough. And they blame the situation instead of looking at their attitude and their commitment level. If you quit at this point and blame it on the circumstances, you're going to move on to the next activity. And that process starts again, where you start to hit obstacles and challenges, you reach that breaking point again, and then without improving yourself or doing anything different, you're going to just make excuses again. Assume it's the wrong circumstance. Assume it's not the right time. And then you're going to go look for something else. If you're not fully committed, if you never make that step to be fully committed, this is the cycle that you're going to continue to run into. Whereas people who are fully committed, they take a different approach. And they ask themselves a different question. So instead of asking themselves, should I? They ask themselves, how can I? Right? How can I keep going? How can I find a different solution to this problem? How can I get better? How can I invest more into this relationship? How can I make this marriage better? How do I make this business succeed? When you start to ask yourself how instead of should, you then engage your creativity. And you're going to start to find some solutions that you didn't even know were there in the first place. You will also make the critical decision at that pivotal moment that you're going to keep going. The longer you ask yourself, should I, instead of how can I, is the longer you're going to be waiting, and more likely than not, you're never going to actually do it. So think about your dream right now. Think about your goals right now. Think about your most important relationships. How committed are you? Are you asking yourself, should I? Or are you asking yourself, how can I? Are you giving yourself excuses and conditions for quitting? Or are you only focused on finding the solution and persevering no matter what? The fulfillment of your dreams is on the other side of commitment. That relationship with God that you've always wanted, it's on the other side of commitment. That business you've been working on, it's not going to succeed until you change your question from should I to how can I? And obviously, I do want to make sure I say there are things in life that you don't have to be 100% committed to. And there are times when you can change your course. I understand that there are times in life where you shouldn't keep going. There are relationships that you don't need to continue. I think you have a full understanding of what those are. But I'm talking about the core commitments in your life. What are those core commitments in your life? It's important to establish what these are. So think about the things in your life that you want to be fully 100% committed to. So in those areas, are you giving yourself an out, or do you find yourself making excuses? Do you find yourself asking the question, should I? In his book, Today Matters, John Maxwell, he says that successful people make healthy decisions, or in other words, healthy commitments, early in life, and then they manage them on a daily basis. So choose today that you're going to be a man that follows Jesus no matter what the cost. Choose that. Make that commitment. Make that decision. If you're a man of God, that's a commitment that we need to make. And then ask yourself, how will I do this? If you have conditions to that commitment, you're giving yourself an out. So do you have conditions in your relationship with God? If you did, that could look something like, you would say something like, I'll follow Jesus as long as it doesn't compete with my plans. Or I'll follow Jesus as long as I feel close to him. I'll follow Jesus as long as it's the popular thing to do. Those would be having conditions in your commitment. So when you really dig deep, you might find that you have some of those conditions. But if you're truly committed, you will say, I will follow Jesus no matter what the circumstance, no matter how I feel, no matter if it's popular or not, no matter what it costs me. The question in this area should not be, should I follow him? The question is, how can I grow in my relationship with him? Same for different other areas of life. Are you 100% committed to investing in your health? This is a big one. Or do you have conditions attached? If you had conditions attached, that would be something like, I'm going to work out as long as I feel like it, as long as I'm motivated, as long as I see immediate results, tangible results, then I'll keep working out. As long as the people around me are doing it, then I'll do it. Those would be some conditions. I'll train for the marathon as long as I feel motivated, as long as I don't hit roadblocks, as long as it's sunny outside, then I'll train. But if it's raining, no way. Do you see how we make these conditions in our lives? And then we run into obstacles and we ask ourselves, should we keep going instead of how am I going to keep going? Choose today that you're going to be a healthy person. No excuses. And then manage it daily. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm talking about a commitment to continue improving, to keep growing. Choose today that you're all in as a follower of Jesus and then manage it daily. Choose today that you're all in on pursuing your dreams, that you're all in, that you're 100% committed, and then manage it daily. Choose today, if you're married, that you're all in on your marriage, that you're not going to have that out in the back of your mind, that you're going to continuously ask yourself, how can I invest in this relationship? How can I be a better husband? The life that you dream of is on the other side of commitment. Are you going to be a man that when you come to that pivotal moment, are you going to be a man who gives up? Or are you going to be a man who pushes through? And your greatest breakthroughs in life are usually just beyond that pivotal moment. Usually we quit when it's really hard, but if we keep going, that breakthrough is usually right after that moment where we want to quit. So my encouragement to you today would be to make those core commitments in your life, to actually identify those. What are the few things in your life that you want to be 100% committed to? So identify them and then manage them on a daily basis. Identify them and then change your question from should I to how can I, and do it daily. So that's my challenge to you. Take some time this week to identify those core commitments, those things that you say you want to be about. Make sure that you're 100% committed to that dream that you have for your life, that thing that you've always wanted to pursue. Are you putting conditions on it? Are you making excuses? Are you waiting for circumstances to be perfect? Or are you saying, I'm all in no matter what? Let's go for it. Let's make progress. When I run into obstacles, I'm just going to say, how can I keep going? I promise you, as you do that, you're going to find the solution. So I believe in you. I'm for you. I'm proud of you for your commitment to growing as a man and pursuing a life of significance. So I hope today was inspiring. I hope it was encouraging. I hope it was thought-provoking. So if you found this training to be helpful, please share it with somebody else that you could think that you think could benefit from it as well. Share it with a friend, and maybe encourage each other to stick to your commitments together. Use each other as accountability for that. So thank you for joining. Now go live a life you're proud of by living intentionally.